Okay, so honestly, I just kind of want to talk about this thing really quick, guys. So, I've been seeing on my For You page nowadays that there's a whole lot of like videos talking about like clicker training where they do the little clicker toy and that thing and they expect you to like have a response. Some people do. I'm not going to tell on myself here though. No, I'm not telling on myself. I am the streamer. I am SpectralAnomally, the med student VTuber and the ghost that's currently haunting your monitor. And I just kind of want to talk about clicker training and operant conditioning, okay? Are we seated? I hope so, because you're watching this video with me while I'm speaking. So, the thing is, I see on the internet that there's like clicker training, and usually people conflate that with you being a freak. I'm trying to be here to say that we're not freaks for reacting to sounds. Motherfucker, we react to sounds all of the time. Our phone makes so many noises, and we know instinctively nowadays what noise corresponds to what. Like if I played this noise, what were you expecting? Put a thing in the comments if you were, I don't know, expecting like a message or notification from Discord. If you are, well, then it's not really an if you know anymore. It just is a statement. And so this is why I really want to talk about operant conditioning, because this is a really cool thing that low-key, I don't know why people are framing it as like a freak thing. It's not a freak thing. Not really, at least. It's just something that's been used by the kink community because it's just something that's innate in our bodies. It's innate in our nervous system. And this is where I'm going to go into operant conditioning. So basically with operant conditioning, operant conditioning is where organisms learn to associate a behavior and its consequence. A pleasant consequence makes the behavior more likely to be repeated in the future, like for the example with notification noise and you check your phone. For example, literally us, we check our phone whenever we hear that, right? And if you want to know what the difference is between this operant conditioning and classical conditioning, a classical conditioning is an unconditioned stimulus, such as food, paired with a neutral stimulus, such as a bell. The neutral stimulus becomes the conditioned stimulus, which brings about the conditioned response of salivation. The stimulus occurs immediately before the response, while in operant conditioning, the target behavior is followed by a reinforcement or a punishment to either strengthen, to reinforce it, or weaken it to punish it so that the behavior does not happen as much, so that the learner is more likely to exhibit the desired behavior in the future. The stimulus occurs soon after the response. So, yeah. B.F. Skinner, who was like the father of behavioral psychology, saw that classical conditioning is limited to existing behaviors that are reflexively elicited, such as salivating, and it doesn't really account for new behaviors such as riding a bike, or for us, checking our phone. I'm going to keep talking about phones because I have been on my phone for way too much, and I'm still looking at a screen. Y'all are going to have to bear with me, okay? Bearing with me? Perfect. Love it. Thank you. Okay, so B.F. Skinner had this belief that behavior is motivated by the consequences we receive for the behavior, reinforcements and punishments, which, by the way, there's positive and negative reinforcement and positive and negative punishment. These are not like positive reinforcement is adding, negative reinforcement is taking away. Same for punishment. Positive punishment means we're adding something. Negative punishment means we're taking something away. I'm going to be here to say this. Negative reinforcement is not punishment. These are very different things. I know it's confusing. Believe me, I have a fucking 4-year degree in psychology, and sometimes I still get confused. Well, I did, but after understanding that positive is adding and negative is taking away or subtracting, it all makes more sense. His idea is that learning is the result of consequences, and this is based on the law of effect, which was proposed by Thorndike. I'm going to be talking about a lot of psychology names. I know. It feels like history because low-key, a lot of psychology is history. And we're going to talk about the law of effect. So the law of effect is that there are behaviors that are followed by consequences. And if the consequences are satisfying to the organism, say the animal, the human, etc., behaviors that are followed by good consequences are more likely to be repeated, and those that are followed by bad consequences are less likely to be repeated. So essentially, if an organism does something that brings about a good result, the organism is more likely to do it again. If they do something that does not bring about a desired result, then they're less likely to do the thing again. And in fact, an example of this is gambling in a way, though that's going to go into like reinforcement schedules, and I don't know if we want to talk about that today. Do we want to? Just leave a thing in the comments if you do. Just say like, yeah, we do want to learn about why gambling is so crazy and weird. You do? Cool. If you don't, that's fine. And yeah, so if we work with Thorndike's law, like B.F. Skinner did as his foundation, and we tried to do experiments like B.F. Skinner did, Skinner is going to start he started conducting scientific experiments on animals to determine how organisms, like animals again, people, etc., learn through operant conditioning. He placed these animals inside of like an operant conditioning chamber, which is been come to known as the Skinner box. The Skinner box contains a lever or a disc, like for rats or for pigeons respectively, that the animal can press or peck for a food reward via the dispenser. Speakers and lights can be associated with certain behaviors, and a recorder counts the number of responses made by the animal. And so I'm gonna put up a picture of the Skinner box in like 3, 2, 1. It's right there. So that's the main thing, but if we think about it in this way, so operant conditioning just kind of turns into you do an action, you receive something, the positive reinforcement, which is where we add the thing or where we give something, leads to the behavior happening more and more and more and more and more. And because again, positive reinforcement is when a desirable stimulus is added to increase a behavior. While a negative reinforcement, this is when a undesirable stimulus is removed to increase a behavior. Negative. And then we're going to go into punishment, because I'm just going to talk about this now. Because I already mentioned how a lot of people confuse negative reinforcement with punishment in operant conditioning, which is very wrong. This is very inaccurate, because these are two extremely different mechanisms. Because reinforcement, even when negative, will always increase a behavior, while punishment will always decrease a behavior. And now we're going to go into, after I talked about all that, we are going to talk about clicker training. See, we're going to go back to this, because this is what I wanted to talk about this whole time. Because clicker training teaches wanted behaviors by rewarding them when they happen. You know, just like positive reinforcement after receiving a desired behavior, right? Right? That's basically what it is. So the method for like clicker training, or just any kind of like positive reinforcement, but specifically clicker training in this example, is that we teach the subject to associate a sound, like maybe a clicker or like another chosen marker, like with a desired effect. And every time that sounds, the desired effect is offered immediately. Then the clicker is used to signal that the desirable behavior has happened. Some approaches are like where if we're signal that the desired behavior has happened, or rather, if we want to signal that a desired behavior has happened, there are some approaches in this kind of training. There's capturing, where we basically catch the subject in the act of doing something that is desired, such as sitting or lying down, and eventually they learn to repeat the behavior for a treat. Or shaping, there's gradually building a new behavior by rewarding each small step towards it. This is a thing back in operant conditioning where if the subject is not able to immediately do the action that's desired, you can basically coax them with progressive reinforcement to complete the action, like over several sessions. Or there's luring, where you can use the treat or like the reinforcement as like a magnet to get the subject to move towards the desired position. Once the behavior is learned, the final step is to add a cue for the behavior, such as a word, hand gesture, that kind of thing. This is for animals, by the way, and the animal will have learned that a treat is on the way after completing the desired behavior. The basis of effective clicker training is precise timing to deliver the conditioned reinforcer at the same moment as the desired behavior is offered. This clicker, or the sound, this is the bridge between the marking of the behavior and the rewarding. And that's how clicker training basically works. I'm just here to say that you're not a freak for falling for something that is in our psychology, because this has been in here forever. There's a lot of smart people in psychology, in the sciences, and everything else that have used this for positive and or negative ends. Again, I'm just gonna keep harping on the fact that everybody's clicker trained. It comes free with our neurological Xbox. And that's it. Bye.